We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for the Virtual Coffee Connection. And Thursday group um, is really just a cool group. Um, Nora and Amy, do you both know why the three of us don't want this group to grow?
I do not know why, because I do invite people because it's that awesome.
um, because um, with every new person, it changes the entire dynamics of everything. And so, we have the opportunity to go ahead and go deep with one another, and we have the opportunity to go ahead and talk about anything we want to talk about, what's on our hearts and minds and our souls. And so we can do all of that. But if there's other people joining, well, then you can't, maybe, you know, it's not. And so some of you may be thinking, well, how do you get people to actually show up, right? So you invite them, and how do you go ahead and show up? And so Nora, she attends church with us. She and Lincoln attend church with us, and she changed my um, my entire life this last Sunday at church. So if if we ever get a chance to go to church together, Amy, go to church with me because you've never been to a church service. And same thing with a movie, same thing with anything you experience with me. It's just, it's just, it's just different. It's just different. Um, and so, um, and so what happened at church this last Sunday is she was laughing after church. Like the most intriguing thing to me about church is after church to talk to people about what they thought about the sermon. Like, what did you think about it? What did you see? What did you like? What you did? What you agreed? What you didn't? What are you going to do with it? Like, why would you go if you're not going to do something? Like, it doesn't make any. I don't understand why people like you just go. So Nora and I were talking afterwards, and she's laughing, and she's not at me, with me, even though I wasn't laughing. My daughters do that a lot. My wife does that a lot. All the women in my life, they're laughing, and it's like, why are you laughing? And I'm like, you're laughing at me, aren't you? And they're like, no. And I'm like, we're laughing with you, but I'm not laughing. Anyways, so she's laughing and she's like, you leverage 100%. You leverage 100% of everything 100% of the time. And I don't know. I mean, I wrote the book on leverage and did the course on leverage. So pretty good with leverage, but not 100% of the time. And so if you want leverage is get people here. So what you do is to invite people, you just ask them their biggest challenge. So what's the biggest challenge that you're facing in any area of your business or life? If you get their biggest challenge, that gives leverage. So we're doing a daily Top Gun boot camp for sales at 5:30 every morning, Monday through Friday, Eastern time. And today, we talked about the importance of asking somebody's biggest challenge. And so, when you get somebody's biggest challenge, what they're acknowledging is that whatever they're doing in life, it's not working. Otherwise, they wouldn't have that biggest challenge. So, their experience isn't enough to overcome their biggest challenge. Their education isn't enough to overcome their biggest challenge. Their belief systems aren't big enough. Like the church they go to, whatever, like everything in their life is not working. Otherwise, they wouldn't have the biggest challenge. So it helps to position. And so if you ask somebody their biggest challenge and they tell you, and then you put your right hand to your chin, even if you're talking on the phone, and you go, that's interesting. Tell me more. That's really, really valuable. And then they'll tell you more. And then you go, huh. And then just like that, you go, huh. You got to put your right hand to your chin. I don't know why, you just do. And then you go, yeah, you go, huh. That's interesting. Tell me more. And you have to say it just like that. You go, huh, that's interesting. Tell me more. And then they'll talk. And then you listen like crazy. You not only listen to the words, but you listen to the energy. So it's fascinating. Like in listening skills, I listen more now I try to listen to the words and the energy, but if I have a choice between one or the other, I always go for energy. because the energy is the essence of what they're really saying. And so then what you do is then you get their biggest challenge. And if they are a certain personalities, this is really cool stuff. I think it's cool. I can't wait to talk about your cruise in a minute here. So we're going to do that. So if they're an analytic or amiable personality, then you go, I'll give that some thought. And then you come back the next day and say, I've been thinking about your biggest challenge of this. And you repeat it again to them. Because if you repeat their biggest challenge is almost always pain. The core of their biggest challenge, 33% of business people, you ask them what their biggest challenge is, 33% of them will say something directly related about time. So it's time. And time is the biggest obstacle to sales. In most sales, it's the biggest obstacle is time. People say, I don't have enough time. And that's not true. It's how they think, but they're not going to say that because they don't recognize it. So you come back, if they're analytic or amiable, less assertive, you come back the next day and say, I've been thinking about what you said about your biggest challenge. And there's this group on Thursday. It's an amazing group. And I think you being there, I think that, and I can talk, I know the leader personally, and I think he would have some ideas as to how you could address that. And that will increase the statistical probability of them attending tremendously. Because now you could use the woman stuff, like you did that once on that one guy, that repair guy. You could do that. Like, women are great at this. Like, you could say, 1 to 10, how good of a friend are you? You could take that approach and they say, oh, you're 10. So if I thought 30 minutes, if I ask you to do something for 30 minutes, would you do it just because I think it's a good thing for you? And they'd say, yeah, I would. And then you say, okay, well, attend, you could use that. So there's a whole bunch of different techniques that you can use. Another thing you can do is get their biggest challenge, and then give it to us on the podcast and say, Mark, and we don't need last name. You can just use the first name. And you can make up a name. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. And so, are you familiar with numerology, Amy?
Vaguely.
Oh, it's fascinating. So their name actually does care if you believe in numerology. Anyways, you can say, hey, Joe had this biggest challenge. If I have a friend of mine and Joe had this biggest challenge of this. What do you think about this, Mark? Then it gets into a podcast. And then you can say, hey, here's this podcast. And Mark actually addressed Joe, you and your biggest challenge. And here's what he came up with. When they go ahead and see what happens with the biggest challenge, I mean, it's absolutely insane. Now, if you go ahead and use the 3 minute, that's even cooler. Like, 3 minute, this is the one, this here. So if you go ahead and get their biggest challenge and you get what they'd love help with, and then you get the personality, now you can help them, because now the biggest challenge probably, and there's things you can do in sales, there's things you can do to highlight their biggest challenge and make it bigger than life. Like, how long have you had the biggest challenge? Like, what's the impact of the biggest challenge? Like, how many things have you tried to go ahead and do to overcome the biggest challenge? And so you make it's pain. You want to increase that pain because you're the one that asked them about that. They subconsciously think you can go ahead, or consciously think that you can actually solve their pain. And you actually can, if we get the personality. If we get their personality, we know why they're having the pain, and we can help them solve it at a core level.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where this page here, I think, is key to Nora achieving her, wow income goal on her action vision plan. I think it's the same thing for you, because the information here in 3 minutes, it's like, it's crazy. it's really almost supernatural what you can do if you get their biggest challenge, and then you get their, what they love help on. And then you go ahead and get the personality, the things that we can go more into this, and maybe we'll see on time. But this thing is absolutely magical. How was the cruise, Amy, and what would you like to accomplish today?
Okay, cruise was great. I've got three things for you this morning. On this, is this something that you emailed me that I could send out to people?
It is. It
Okay,
is. And then what you do is you go ahead and you can say it
put,
says referred by, and then you
okay,
can put your name. The code, we're still working on that. You can
okay,
make up a code, and they don't have to have a code, or if they do have a code, you could make up your own code. So you can do that. You can do it based on email or whatever.
okay,
The code at some point is going to be connected into Life GPS, where then it would go ahead and organize it so you could have different codes for different people that would put them in different tracks and all kinds of stuff. But yes, they can do that. You can send it out. And then Nora would help you when they came in, she would help you at some point. The programmers would at some point they'll set it up to where it just comes to you. And so
okay,
this is through Life Masteries. They're a nonprofit organization. And so they're not going to do anything with this information unless you want them to do something. So they
okay,
could do something on your behalf, you know, if you wanted them to do it. So if
okay,
somebody has referred by, then Life Masteries would connect with you, and they would go ahead, or Nora would connect with you and say, hey, we had this. Do you want us to do anything? And if you do, they can do something on your behalf. If not, that's fine. You just take it and you just do it.
okay, perfect. All right, cruise was fantastic. It was wonderful. I rested a lot. I
Did
laid
you?
around on the beach. I walked like 15 to 19,000 steps a day. Even though the ship wasn't one of the bigger ships, there was a lot of walking. It was wonderful. And
Nice.
motion sickness was very minimal, which I was
Okay, good.
concerned about. So it was lovely. And we're going to do another cruise, just so you guys know, for next year. And the
Nice.
entire group that went wants to go again. We did a lot of networking on the ship. It was a lot of fun. And then you had a lot of free time with your whoever you brought with you as well. So a little bit of work, a whole lot of fun, a whole lot of rest.
Nice. Are you going to do it at the same time, like over my birthday again?
Possibly, like everyone liked the month of February. We talked about maybe moving it like a week back.
Okay.
And we're also looking at, we loved Virgin, by the way. Virgin was awesome, but Virgin has very limited areas that they sail to. And we had some requests people wanted to sail to Mexico. So we're going to look for that as well. We're going to maybe look for a different ship and a different route and still kind of that 4 day cruise because that seemed to work good for people because people added either a day to the front or a day to the end and still made it manageable for them being business owners.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah, it was lovely. Time management. I love that you talked about that. My problem I'm noticing, two problems I'm noticing. One with time management is I do time block for all the big things, appointments, projects. But what do you do with just your task list? Like the mundane things that need to be done. Do you put a block on your thing that says task list? Like
Oh, are you familiar with the 5 time management freedom fighters from the Business X-ray?
I haven't went that far in yet.
Okay.
So,
So there's 6 ways you can do something.
okay.
And so you can do the work yourself, but if you do that, then you'll go ahead and end up owning a job rather than a company. So roughly around 20 years ago, I discovered the secret about time. So I had 7 kids running a company, international speaker and author. There were weeks that I was working 110 hour, weeks with 7 kids, homeschooling, still had a date night every Friday night, but it was tough. And then Tom Coons came into my life and that changed everything. I mean, everything. And so it tells the story in The Secret About Time. So Nora can get this out to you. Life Masteries Institute heard that I had all these companies and I had an extra 20 to 30 hours of free time a week. And so they came back to me and they said, hey, Mark, we hear you have all this free time. I said, I do. And they said, what's your secrets? And I told them, and they said, can you put together some videos on it? I said, sure. Yeah, not a problem. So I put together 10 videos on it. And so that's the secret about time. And so they put together a 30-day challenge where the average length of the video, some are 2 minutes, 3 minutes, some are 10 minutes. So the average length of the video is 6 minutes. So we have 1,440 minutes in a day and 10,080 minutes in a week. It's important to memorize that and know that because we have an abundance of time. I mean, an abundance of time. So if we're running out of time, the reason we're running out of time is because we're not thinking properly. So the first day is the 3-for-1 principle. The second is the Mach 1 principle. The third is life vision. The fourth is the 5-time management freedom fighters. The 5-time management freedom fighters is delegate, systematize, contract out, hire someone, or partner with someone. And so in the action vision plan and coaching, that's one of the most important things. Everything you do, you look at how can I delegate, systematize, contract out, hire someone, or partner with someone? How can I do that? And so that's what you're looking to do, because when you learn to do those 5-time management freedom fighters, then you start freeing up time. It's hard for somebody who's OCD, somebody who's analytic. It's hard for somebody who cares about what they do to delegate because nobody does it like we do. Day 5 is the 5 H's to success. Day 6 is the 7 T's to stewardship. Day 7 is the next dimension principle. Day 8 is the 80-20. Day 9 is the 530 grid. And day 10 is personality masteries. And so this was done a few years ago. That's me. It really is. Nora's son, Lincoln, he's 3. And she says, "You want to watch a video with Mark?" She's like, "That's not Mark."
Kids honesty, you gotta love it.
Right. But then we heard my voice. So my voice, I guess, hasn't changed in whatever 15, 20 years, whatever I did this for. So this here, if you go through this, the 30-day challenge, you go through the videos and there's different levels here. So there's no cost. We encourage people, Life Mastery is a nonprofit. We encourage people that go through this, to make a contribution as whatever they can. But if you go through it, phase 1 is you go through, day 1 through day 10. So it's 10 minutes a day. And you watch the video for 6 minutes and then you manage up and out. And it tells you how to do that. So Nora will get you over this page. And then you get 3 or more people. Day 11 through 20, you go ahead and do it again. 12 or more people. Plus, you get 2 other people to join you on your journey. And then phase 3 is 20-day, 21 through 30. You manage up and out. You get 24 more people, 24 people that you do, and you get 2 buddies. You get your 2 buddies, and you get them to go ahead and do that. And this connects back into, and we haven't covered, I don't think, the ARC tree. So the atomic ripple reaction tree, it's connected back into the Life GPS mobile app. And so that was discovered by Emily and I with Life Masteries Institute on bringing peace to the Middle East. So the secret about time is how we think about time. When we learn to think about time in a different way, then it changes. But if we don't learn how to delegate, systematize, contract out, hire someone, or partner, if we don't learn how to do that, we exchange time for money. When we do that, we'll always run out of time. I mean, that's what will happen. Questions?
No, that's excellent. Thank you. I'm glad you pointed that out. And that is on my action stuff to do for the BOS. I got it right here.
Nice. And there's more. And if you're going through the 30-day challenge and you bring that up on this, then we can talk about and answer any questions that you might have on that, because I really want to do another 30-day challenge with maybe 10 more videos, or maybe a 21-day challenge with 7 videos. I don't know. So there's more of it. Getting the time is easy. It's keeping the free time that's hard. Getting additional time that's easy. Um, it's almost like healing. Healing's easy. Staying healed is hard.
Mhm.
It's just hard work. So getting the extra 20, 30 hours of free time a week, that's easy. Keeping it, that's hard because it's like everybody around you, wants a piece of you. And then there's the caught in the middle principle where it says, if we're surrounded by weak, inefficient, ineffective people, we too will become weak, inefficient, and ineffective as well. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So, anything else you have, Amy?
That is good. No, thank you.
Yeah. Nora, what you got today?
So you know how like when people pay a lot of money, they pay a lot of attention?
Yep.
So how do you like train your brain to if you're not actually paying a lot of money for something, how do you trick your brain into thinking that you are so you always get the most value out of everything you do?
Man, you're a crazy girl. So that's from Ralph from Australia, a friend of mine. He's an author, and he's the one that introduced me to the concept of, that. He says when people pay, they pay a lot. When they pay attention. When they pay a lot, they pay a lot of attention. So in my sleep last night, I was thinking of significance. I woke up this morning and it's frustrating to me. Like when I was going through, Nora, you're going through the leverage course. And so, that's through Life Masteries Institute as well. I do a lot of volunteers. So all of the courses that they do, um, there's a charge for those courses. The 30-day challenge for the time management, there's not, that's free, but there's some of the courses that they've asked me to do. I don't make a dime on it. Never have, never will. It's worth it. And so on the leverage course, Nora, when Tom and Peter and I were going through that course, I don't know, halfway through the course, I was really frustrated. And I showed up one day and with my frustration, and Tom's like, "You're a little off today, Mark." And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm just frustrated with people." He's like, "What are you frustrated?" I'm like, "They're just so stupid." So I know I'm not supposed to say that, but I don't know. He's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "They say they understand something, but they really don't." And I can't say to them, I've learned you can't say, my wife has said, you can't say that to people. I'm like, why not? It's the truth. And so I'm like, they say they understand, but they don't. And I don't know why. Like, it doesn't make, oh, I get that. I understand that. My kids do that. Oh, I understand that. Do you? Doesn't seem like you do. Like, could be wrong, but doesn't seem. And so he laughed and he's like, "Do you know why they're saying they do and they don't?" I'm like, "I don't." And he's like, "It's because they're not internalizing what you're saying." And I don't know if you guys have had this moment. I don't know if you guys have had this moment where all of a sudden like you can't figure out the answer and somebody just throws it out and you're like, "Dang, that's the answer." And when he said internalization, I'm like, "Oh my goodness, you're brilliant, Tom." Like, that's crazy. Like, that is so crazy. You're a genius. You're a freaking genius. Like, then I go, "So how do I get people to internalize people?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know that." Like, really, Tom? Thanks. So I go to sleep that night and I wake up the next morning and this model is in my head. Whole thing. I get out of bed, grab a piece of paper, write the whole model. Everything was there. And except this last word, it wasn't. This thing was blank. Every other piece was there, but this piece wasn't there. And I bring it to the thing and I show everybody. I'm so excited. Tom's excited. He said, "Explain it to me. Explain what this is." And I explained it to him. He's like, "Dang, that's good." Like, right, but I can't figure this out. And Peter Miles, past president of Rolls-Royce, past board member of BMW, he's like, "Oh, it's failure." I'm like, "Ah, that's what it is." Like, these guys are, man, are these guys smart. So I think, Nora, you look into the future. Like your first year in sales, your goal is $250,000. Like that's insane. That's an insane goal. Like that's just an insane goal. Well, if that's the case, the next year, is it going to be $500,000? And the next year, is it going to be, $1 million, and then 2.5 million, then 5 million? So you just go into the future, Nora. If you're partly driver, so you're double analytic, and then you have expressive as a secondary and driver as a secondary. So go into your driver, or if you have, any really good friends, level 4 friends that are drivers, trust them. And look at, Amy, are you familiar with the $155,000 an hour story? Okay, so we've covered that. So Nora, you look at your time differently. So it's costing you whatever. So if you're investing one level, but you want to go ahead and get more out of it, mentally you trick yourself into thinking I'm investing 10 times into that, because you're mentally saying I'm investing. If you're investing, $2,000 into something, you say I'm investing 20,000, because then you'll get $20,000 of value. And when you do that, Nora, make sure that you either give or pay extra. You make sure whoever's helping you, whoever's doing that, or you give it to a good cause, whatever it is. So you like, I did this when I was 23 years old, going to 100% straight commission. My wife is, 3 months pregnant with our first one. I'm getting killed making $1 an hour. I go out there, and I'm a young male. I'm working with realtors. And so they're in their 50, 60, 70, mostly women. And so I'm a dumb, irresponsible young man. I got it. They profiled me. There was prejudice against me. They stereotyped me. What did I do? Did I go ahead and form a march and complain? I did. I just am not going to be the stereotype. I'm just not going to be the stereotype of what they said. I just am not going to do it. And I didn't. And then all of a sudden, I brought my daughter out when she was born. And so Ginger Ann, she was out selling when she was a week old. And man, was she good. Holy cow, was she good. And so what I did is mentally, though, Nora, I said, they don't understand who they're working with. They don't understand this guy's going to change the world. Like, they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to work with me. They have no idea. I'm 23 years old. It's just like, this is like this. So I understood who I was going to become, and I was that person then, and that gave me the confidence and the strength to be able to do that. Does that help, Nora, or not so much?
Yeah, it does.
Anything else, ladies, that either of you have?
Real quick, what are some good listening tips? Because you talk about being a really good listener, you opened up with that. What are some of the tips you have on being a great listener?
I might get emotional here. I'll try not to. But in the white paper library, there's a 1-4 in clear communication. There's a white paper on that. And the way I'd get emotional is because that's when my oldest son and his new wife, we went to Maryland, and I wrote this white paper on that trip with them. And so, but the stupid white paper doesn't work, Amy. So Nora can get you the white paper, and then there's a podcast on it. There's a podcast on it. And so there's a podcast on it that's 34 minutes. But when it doesn't work, you got to email me and say, Mark, this is a stupid white paper, doesn't work. I'm like, okay, cool. Because then I get really excited. I'm like, why doesn't it work? So that will help. It goes into personalities. So a lot of, in listening, you're listening based on the different personalities. So each of the different personalities have a different language. They speak a different language, and they hear in a different language. So when you learn, so I'm a driver analytic driver. And so, but I switched my personality for 2 years to an amiable and 3 years to an expressive. And so what I did is I rewired my brain. If you went ahead and took, we'll talk about that in another time, how every man's brain is damaged in the second trimester of the womb. And so what I do is I've learned how to think like an amiable. So I have to listen like an amiable, or I have to talk like an amiable to understand an amiable. The expressive, they're the hardest. Like I just am in wonderment of them. Like I'm like,
And
how
I'm an
do
expressive driver, and that expressive is like so hard for me to wrap in and control at times.
right? So you don't control it.
Okay.
You just discipline it. You discipline the expressive to be able to do it, and then you essentially a lot of times people waste, like I don't know what it was 20 years ago in our marriage. My wife walked into my office and she said something, and I said, honey, love you to pieces, but what you said in 20 words could have been said in 3. And on our date nights you can say as many words as you want, but during the workday I got to have you tight in your communication. So an expressive driver, that's like their brains work so fast, and people waste so much of their time because they're explaining things, they're going through things, and you're picking things up. So you have to actually train them to understand they don't have to use so many words with you. And that will be more efficient. That'll help you in time. So you're probably able to process things. Is it you not listening or other people?
I would say it's me not listening because I like get bored in the details probably, or I feel like people ramble on sometimes, but sometimes I need to listen to everything that they're saying. So I need to keep the focus on what they're saying and be intentional.
Okay, so this is what I do in that situation. I try to get a feel for energy, and so but then I will ask them, everybody around me knows, I'll say, why are you sharing that with me? There's 10 reasons why people talk, why people say things. I train people in this. Everybody around me knows. And so people don't think about what they're talking about. They don't have any intention, they don't have anything. So I need to train other people around me, because if not, I feel for energy, and then you get a feel for the person. Like this person, 90% of what they say doesn't have relevance. I have to train that person. Like I don't have to listen better. They have to learn to communicate better because they're wasting my time and their time too. So I have to train them to go ahead and understand I don't need all the details. I'm right where they're at and what they're doing. Makes sense?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else, ladies? All right. Ladies are awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a blessed day. We'll see you. Bye.